My name is Leslie Baker, and I wanted to talk to you today about compassion fatigue, which is kin to burnout, but comes about for different reasons. So, a lot of our healthcare providers, our essential workers, including therapists, may be affected by compassion fatigue. It's actually in the same categories as it comes along with sometimes burnout and what is often referred to as secondary post-traumatic stress. Compassion fatigue is particular in that it is often specific to not directly being affected by the challenge or the trauma. So it is secondary to that, meaning that we witness or hear, listen to difficult stories, and then it impacts us in a secondary way. So of course, healthcare workers, people on first responders, and even therapists, even though we're mostly doing telehealth, can be affected. And simply just by switching over your practices and doing a lot of changing can be a trigger as well. So a few things that I wanted to say about it is that Figley is a primary researcher from back in the day. He researched quite a bit in the 90s about compassion fatigue, and so I thought I would read a little thing that he wrote. We feel the feelings of our clients, we experience their fears, and we dream their dreams. Eventually, we lose a certain spark of optimism, humor, and hope. We tire, we aren't sick, but we aren't ourselves. And that's by Figley from 1995. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this is to start a conversation for therapists and other first responders to just say that if you notice those issues and you feel these things, you may want to reach out for help. And there are some small things that you can do for yourself if you're feeling compassion fatigue. So one is to know that you may be triggered neurobiologically into fight and flight and paralysis. So if you're noticing that you are agitated or nervous or feeling a lot of the symptoms, some of the symptoms you might feel are different ways of coping that you hadn't used before but are coming more use, like drugs and alcohol, or oversleeping, or eating more, or other things like that. Some physical things maybe that you can't sleep enough, or that you aren't sleeping at all. So you're sleeping too much or not enough. Weight gain, of course, can be an issue, as well as a lot of anxiety. And a lot of times psychologically, we notice people are feeling really down in the dumps, and so it'll come out as negativity, cynicism, and just being hypercritical of others, or anger, or in some cases rage. So important to notice the symptoms, and then here are some things that you can do about it that are simple and easy to do. A lot of people have been talking about meditation or mindfulness, so slow down and enjoy the small things. So let's say you're eating lunch. Take a few more minutes and really take a minute to, after you've washed your hands and sanitized, to really enjoy the food in front of you, to take a minute to chew slowly, to recognize that you're being nourished, and to take some time to enjoy that. If you're able to either look outside your window or stand in your yard, if you have those kind of moments, to really look around and look at what you see, take in a breath, and smell what you smell around you. Listen to the sounds. maybe you hear birds chirping, maybe you see a flower. But in terms of sounds, what sounds are you listening to? And other things, maybe there's something you can touch. Maybe you can put your feet on the grass for a moment and touch the blades of the grass. And maybe we can't touch each other, but there's other things perhaps you can touch. And maybe a soft blanket, maybe a pillow that feels comforting to you. So those are some tips that you can do for mindfulness. And meditation, there's lots of options. There are downloads you can listen to. There are apps that have free opportunities to listen to. A lot of guided imagery is helpful for the busy mind. And some other little tips that are helpful. One is by Dr. Meergain. She did a presentation on a show I was watching in 2015, and she's part of an institute back east. But she recommends something called the 5-3-1 strategy for happiness. So you do 5 minutes of meditation a day, and then you write down 3 positive things that happen to you daily. So even though there's a lot of stress, try to write down 3 things that you can think of that are positive. And lastly, extend 1 act of kindness. Perhaps that is saying a kind word to someone. Maybe it is making a phone call to an elder person. Maybe it is supporting a colleague with a phone call or a FaceTime. So think of something, 1 act of kindness you can do for another each day. So those are some tips that you can do to ward off compassion fatigue, just some suggestions. So wishing you wellness. Thank you so much, and stay well.